The automatic glass doors of Sanctum Hospital, a sanctuary of marble and technology for the city's elite, swung open with an almost imperceptible creak. Helena Martin stepped inside, and the scent of expensive antiseptic and fresh orchids hit her face like a slap. She carried an old, panting mongrel dog in her arms, but her eyes weren't on the luxurious decor, they were fixed on the man she had just helped into the room, an executive in a tailored suit who had collapsed onto the sidewalk seconds before. Helena wore a faded canvas coat, stained with street dust, and her boots were worn down to the soles. To the hospital staff, she was just another social detritus polluting the lobby. But beneath the grime, Helena's eyes were like scanners, assessing the man's respiratory rate and skin tone with a precision no one there could have imagined. The receptionist, wearing an impeccable uniform and a gold name tag, looked up, her expression of boredom turning to immediate disgust. She didn't see the man in distress on the floor, she only saw the homeless woman. "Ma'am, the exit is that way. We don't allow animals or people of your kind in the lobby," the woman's voice was sharp. "This man needs immediate help. He has a thready pulse and is sweating profusely," Helena said, her voice calm, firm, and perfectly articulated, a legacy of years managing trauma rooms. "Have you ever felt like your existence was erased simply because of the clothes you wear? If you believe that human life is worth more than a luxury health insurance plan, click the subscribe button now. What you're about to see will prove that the person you ignore today may be the only person capable of saving your tomorrow." Dr. Ricardo, a resident physician whose ego was clearly larger than his competence, approached with his hands in the pockets of his designer lab coat. He didn't even bend down to examine the patient. "What are you trying to do? Some kind of scheme to steal medication?" Ricardo laughed, glancing at the security guards. "Get this woman and this filthy animal out of here now. And take this man to the city's public triage. It must just be drunkenness or sunstroke." Helena tried to point to the man's dilated pupils, but two brutal security guards grabbed her by the shoulders. "If you throw me out, you'll have a corpse in the lobby in less than 2 minutes, she warned coldly, but was dragged onto the sidewalk under the contemptuous gazes of the medical staff. That's when fate took its toll. The man on the floor began to have a violent seizure, but it wasn't an ordinary attack. His limbs contorted at unnatural angles, and his skin turned blue in seconds. Dr. Ricardo panicked. He couldn't identify the signs. "It's an overdose. Bring naloxone now," he shouted, preparing a medication that would prove fatal in that situation. Helena, outside, saw the scene through the glass. Her instinct to save him outweighed the humiliation. With a swift, skillful movement, she broke free from the security guards, kicked the door open, and rushed to the center of the lobby like a hurricane. "Stop now. If you inject that, his heart will stop," she roared with the authority of someone who had fought in wars. Ricardo tried to push her away, but Helena shouted the technical term that froze the room. "It's an adrenergic crisis due to pheochromocytoma. He's going into obstructive shock. He needs an emergency cricothyroidotomy, now." Before any doctor could react, Helena grabbed a surgical scalpel from the triage tray. With surgical precision that would make a veteran tremble, she performed the life-saving maneuver right there on the marble floor. Blood splattered onto her old coat, but within seconds, the sound of air returning to the man's lungs echoed through the absolute silence of the lobby. The final twist came when the hospital's director general descended the stairs and stopped, pale. "Dr. Helena Martins? The former head of trauma at the UN?" He looked at the dirty woman on the floor and then at Dr. Ricardo, who was trembling. "We thought you had disappeared after the mission in Africa." "I didn't disappear, I just got tired of a world where doctors look at their bank account before they look at life," Helena said, standing up with the dog in her arms again. She stared at Ricardo. "Your arrogance almost killed the main investor in your own hospital. You failed because you saw a rag, not a patient." The silence in the lobby of Sanctum Hospital was so thick you could hear the ticking of the gold watch on Dr. Ricardo's wrist, which was now trembling violently. The man on the floor, Mr. Arthur Montgomery, the largest shareholder in the hospital network, slowly opened his eyes. The first thing he saw was not the million-dollar equipment, but the deep, calm eyes of Helena, the woman he himself, in his social blindness, would have ignored minutes before. Weeks later, Arthur Montgomery, now recovered, called an emergency meeting of the hospital board. But he wasn't in his leather chair on the rooftop. He was sitting on a wooden bench in the simple square, waiting for Helena. When she appeared, still with her old dog, Arthur stood up. The man who had previously only shaken hands with presidents bowed in respect. "Dr. Helena," said Arthur, his voice choked with emotion. "I've spent my life building hospitals for those who can afford them, believing that health was a privilege of success. That day, on the floor of my own lobby, I realized that death doesn't look at bank statements. I was saved by the very person I trained my employees to expel. I don't just want to thank you, I want to ask for your forgiveness." Helena gazed at the horizon, the wind blowing against her worn coat. "Forgiveness isn't asked for with words, Mr. Montgomery. It's asked for with change." It was there that Arthur's redemption began. He not only sued the hospital for negligence, but used every penny of that billion-dollar settlement, and half of his own personal fortune, to fund Helena's dream. He understood the most valuable lesson of his life: those we least expect are often the ones who hold the cure we need. He realized that the true elite are not those who have the most, but those who, like Helena, can see life where everyone else sees only an inconvenience. Arthur gave up his life of luxury to become the financial administrator of the Martins Institute. For the first time, he wasn't focused on profits, but on how many lives the mobile clinics could reach in the outskirts of the city. He even began accompanying Helena on her missions, exchanging his suits for simple clothes, redeeming himself with each bandage applied to those he previously considered invisible. Today, Sanctum Hospital still exists, but at the entrance, where Helena was humiliated, there is a glass memorial with a quote from Arthur Montgomery. "In this place, we learn that medicine treats the body, but humanity saves the soul." Never ignore someone you don't know. You might be ignoring your own miracle. Helena Martins didn't return to being an elite surgeon in air-conditioned operating rooms. She remains in the streets, but now she leads an army of volunteer doctors. The greatest lesson she left for Arthur and the world wasn't perfect surgical technique, but proof that health should not be a market, but a basic human right. And you? If you were lying on the ground, who would you want by your side? The fancy doctor who won't look you in the eye, or the invisible person who carries the wisdom of a lifetime? If this journey of redemption and justice has touched your heart, don't leave here without leaving your trail of light. Like this video if you believe everyone deserves dignified treatment. Share this with someone who needs to remember that a person's worth lies in their character, not their bank account. Comment redemption if you believe the world can change through empathy. Thank you for following Dr. Helena's story. Remember, the next miracle in your life might be dressed in rags and asking permission to pass. Don't close the door to the one who could be your only way out. Until next time, where karma always completes its cycle. Justice served. Karma fulfilled. Redemption achieved.